Have you ever wondered how much art there actually is from the Donkey Kong Country series? I mean, we have seen them featured in magazines and whatnot, but how much of it lurks in the shadows? To answer this, we need to go to 1994, when the game company Rare purchased a state-of-the-art render computer, the CGI Challenge workstation. This technological edge gave Rare the opportunity to recreate one of Nintendo's less popular mascots in their own unique style and vision. Although the rendering process was slow and needed to work overnight with the chance of crashing, it had a significant impact on the gaming industry. For example, games like Super Mario RPG, The Legend of the Seven Stars had a similar approach. So, what's up with Donkey Kong Country? Well, it broke all records for the fastest selling game until 1994, selling 4 million copies worldwide, which quickly made it a common household name. To me, it was my first Super Nintendo game that I got for my birthday. Needless to say, I played it extensively. And although it was common to borrow games between friends back in the day, a part of my youthful spirit died when a friend of mine gave the cartridge back, totally smudged in chocolate stains. Was that the worst? No. I sold this game for $10 at the Queen's Day market sale to some grown-up who made me cut the price from 30. Everything has a price, but not everything should be for sale. Childhood traumas aside, the animal bodies in the first and second games were awesome. The addition of Diddy and Dixie Kong as an extra life added to the cooperative nature of the game, and the majority of levels were clever with an overall mysterious, atmospheric design that yet managed to be familiar. Believe it or not, they used post-it notes to create and design these levels. Of course, there was a massive marketing campaign with so many promotional illustrations that drew us in the world before we stepped in ourselves. Especially for Donkey Kong Country 2. Rare knew they had something special on their hands. Here, the levels changed from pirate ships to roller coaster rides, all the way up to the deep, complex symphonic web of sticker bushes. Yep, it has to be said. Its music, composed by David Wise, is the pinnacle of the series. Sadly, I never got my hands on a DKC 2 cartridge as a kid, even after multiple attempts to win this game through a candy bar contest. Nevertheless, I did borrow the Donkey Kong Land games from friends, and I had a blast with them. However, I always wanted to rent the SNES DKC 2, but every time we were allowed to rent it, it was unavailable. So my brother and I went for the next best games, such as the crappy, always available games like Tintin, Beethoven, and the worst Batman game of them all. Fortunately, I did get my hands on Donkey Kong Country 3. And personally, I really like this game. It has multiple great and well-fitting music tracks, and some of the level designs have an excellent flow, combined with an overall world vibe that feels adventurous and goal-orientated. Nonetheless, it's the odd one out of the trilogy. Aside from the subpar levels in World 1, especially compared to the other two, the main reason DKC 3 is less appealing is Kiddy freaking Kong. I mean, come on Rare. If you do tend to burn the OGs, then at least don't add a crybaby in that alienates the audience that grew up with the first two games. Ranting aside, the game design, such as bosses and secrets, were overall better executed. The world design was more involved and the difficulty was good enough. Rare turned their focus on the N64 and released Donkey Kong Country 64 in '99. And everything was now 3D and gangster. No more slow rendering of sprites and assets. This gave Rare the power to give Donkey a gun, make Diddy the true OG, and put Candy under surgery. In all honesty, I haven't played Donkey Kong 64. Because, like in many households, they consisted of either PlayStation or Nintendo 64 kids, and I was the former. And for some really bizarre reason, I never had the urge to play this game later on. I wonder why. That said, the majority of my friends had N64s, which was, of course, awesome. Without a doubt, one of the popular games was Diddy Kong Racing. This game was cool. It had secrets to explore and dozens of balloons, which made it different from similar games like Mario Kart. The whole atmosphere was more adventurous, true to its origin, and in typical Rare fashion. They used their creativity to add in hovercrafts and planes. The cast had a pretty fun set of animal characters. And I always chose this tiger kiddo. And remember this mouse? Well, some people imagined her like this. Now the real question is, what about the other Donkey Kong Country games from Retro Studios? Fortunately, it turns out there is way more concept art in DKC Returns than I ever expected. Here you can really see how the creators envisioned the world in a very stylized way. Although maybe less unique compared to the trilogy, they added a lot of believable environments that fit the game appeal. Also, what I like is that, while the original art focuses on the characters themselves, Returns focuses on the grandiose scale of the environment. How small Donkey and Diddy are compared to the massive world that was established. When looking at the art, the energy of the Kong's actions adds an extra layer to the adventure as well. In case of the, in my eyes, superior game, Tropical Freeze, there isn't much art unfortunately. At least not available to the public. Probably because the characters were well established already, so it kind of is expected. All in all, the cover is really well done. The whole cast is shown as a true team. However, I miss one character. Ah, there he is. Now I can finally beat my massive game backlog. I'm fantasy light novel author GP Vugs. And I definitely replayed the DKC games a ton with family and friends. And if you love the originals as much as I do, then I do recommend the Geek Critique retrospective videos on this series. They are simply genius.